For decades, a 300 plus horsepower rear-wheel drive coupe looked something like this.
But if you're not into the retro thing and you don't want to pay German or even Japanese prices, you can thank Hyundai for this.
It is a more modern sports car and comes with a much more modern, fully independent rear suspension, something the Mustang has always been criticized for not having.
But does that mean the Mustang can handle, or for that matter that the Hyundai can? That's what we're here to find out. Powering this Genesis is its 3.8-liter V6 engine that makes 348 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. It weighs around 3,500 pounds and has a weight distribution of 56 front, 44 rear. Both the R-Spec and this track model get bigger sway bars, 7% stiffer springs, big Brembos, and 19-inch wheels with Bridgestone summer tires. For the stripped-down R-Spec model, you pay $28,750. And for the fully loaded track model like we have today, you pay $33,000.
Under the Mustang's hood is a 3.7-liter V6, making 305 horsepower and 280 foot-pounds of torque. Weighing exactly 3,500 pounds, it has a 54 to 46 front to rear weight distribution. Now you can pick up a base V6 Mustang for just $22,200, although a premium model will cost you more, like $26,000. Of course, making this Mustang a real contender is the fact that it comes with the car's performance pack. Now, that includes a strut tower bar, larger sway bars, some high-performance summer tires on big 19-inch wheels, plus an upgraded brake kit.
All right, we're just pulling out here onto Mosport International Raceway, one of the fastest racetracks in North America. I've already done a few laps in the Genesis here, and very pleasantly surprised with its handling balance. The 2.0T at a different racetrack really had a lot of understeer in it, but around Mosport with these big sweeping corners, this car's handling balance is actually spot on. It really gives you a lot of confidence coming into the corners, and it has very good grip. But the V6 just suits this chassis so much better. It really makes it feel a lot more willing, a lot more like a sports car. Absolutely transforms it from the 2-liter turbo. Really adds a fun factor to this car, probably because it weighs 3,500 pounds. It needs the power that this V6 gives it. The brakes are only so-so, to be honest. I know the calipers say Brembo, which is one of the best braking companies in the world, but the brake pedal does get a little spongy around here. The front tires are a little undersized too. They're only a 225. And the car could definitely use a little bit more front grip, but like I said before, I do really like the handling balance here. The car does inspire confidence at the limit, and the limit's really high around this racetrack. The transmission here in the Hyundai is still pretty vague. It's really not as cleanly gated as the Mustangs, but it just has that slightly soupy feel that I also didn't really enjoy in the 2.0T model. But with this engine, I mean, it is a really, really sweet V6 engine. It makes you forget about any transmission imprecision in a hurry. It really does haul some pretty good ass down the straightaway here.
For a V6 Mustang, this car is seriously impressive. One of the things I really like about it is that it's got a square set of tires, meaning it's got the same size on the front and the rear, so it's nicely balanced. It actually has a 255s on the car, and that's pretty surprising for the front end of this car. So it really has a great turn-in response, which I'm liking, and on some of the few slower corners on this racetrack, it actually understeers a lot less than you'd expect. I also really enjoy the shifter feel on this car. I find it's a lot better than that in the Genesis Coupe, and I find the Genesis Coupe has some problems shifting from third down to second, and so that's a real nice thing to be driving this car instead. The brake pedal feel on this car is definitely another highlight. It is much more responsive and just feels better throughout the session here. One of the reasons for that is that Ford, with this performance package, has opted to upgrade to high-performance brake pads, and you really can tell the difference. One of the real downsides of this car is that throttle response just isn't all that great, and it really makes you realize how much it is down on power compared to the Hyundai. Overall, it just doesn't quite feel as nimble as the Genesis Coupe, but the biggest drawback is the fact that this car actually has a top speed limiter on it, meaning that at about 120 miles an hour, right there, you run out of power. And that, more than anything else, is going to be the biggest factor in deciding which car is faster here at this racetrack. So Dave, don't keep us waiting any longer. Which was the faster car?
Well, I'm going to keep you waiting just a minute to say that before I turned on the lap timer, I think Colin and I both felt the Genesis was a much faster car.
Oh, totally. I mean, on the back straight here, you really saw the horsepower difference on that car. And overall, just it transitioned better and felt like a better overall performance machine.
And that did actually translate to faster lap times. The Genesis did a 1:39.9, while the Mustang did a 1:42.2. It's got to be noted, though, that the Mustang was hitting about 120 mile an hour speed limiter, where in the Genesis I was getting up to 135 or so.
So does that mean that the faster car here is also the better one?
Well, the Genesis did suffer from some brake fade, and the gearbox is still pretty vague, but otherwise it was really a superior car in every way.
Yeah, except I will take the Mustang seats though too, that's all right.
True, those Recaros are pretty sweet.
I mean, the verdict here is essentially that not only is the Hyundai Genesis Coupe a better and more luxurious daily driver, it's also the superior performance machine. For more on this car comparison and others like it, visit autoguide.com.